tremendous momentum after the debates. We're now moving forward toward Election Day, identifying voters, knocking on doors, and mobilizing what I said from the beginning was our greatest asset, people and volunteers.
All right. If there were one reason for people to get out and go vote by 3 p.m. today at one of those 5 regional early vote locations that are open on Sunday, what is it?
We can make Chicago a better city by making it safer, providing 1,000 new additional policemen and women to do community policing can make a great difference. It can rid us of that reputation that Chicago is the most violent city in the country.
Now, you've talked about that, and you talk about that in an ad, and you also have talked a lot on the campaign trail about something you call restorative justice. I had a vague sense of what it was, but you were in a community organization for 9 years,
yes,
in between your time in Springfield and then the time at the county, where you're now a county commissioner. What in the world is exactly restorative justice, and how's that going to reduce crime?
It's a practice where you bring victim and perpetrator together with community people to sit with them to discuss an incident that occurred. If I broke your phone, if I damaged your backpack, if I ripped your coat, then we have a conversation about it. Both of us must agree on that. I need to restore what the damage that I did to you, whether it cost $100, $200. You must be willing to accept my restoration. I apologize to you. You must accept my apology.
So this is for school kids?
Only then we move forward. It's for school kids. It's for adolescents. It's for situations that occur frequently in schools, in neighborhoods that can be resolved without involving the police, without having to go before a juvenile judge, without having to involve juvenile probation officers. The idea is that you heal, you restore, and you move forward. You rebuild the fabric that was torn when those incidents took place, so policemen and women can focus on the serious crime in communities.
Well, I mean, I think if you're talking about a broken phone, that kind of thing, frankly, the Chicago police probably won't do much about it anyway. So why would the offender agree to pay $200 for something that he or she did?
Because people in the community are sitting...
And who enforces it?
The people in the community sit with them. They talk about the significance of that occurrence, the harm that's been done. There's a recognition that it was done. Then you provide support so that the offender can modify his or her behavior. It's getting back to community, that resolution of conflict, instead of throwing it on the police, on the judge, on a juvenile probation officer.
Let me ask you about something that,
sure,
that took me by surprise. I mean, because I know you were a very involved dad. Your wife Evelyn
yes,
was an involved mom, and yet somehow the street took your son Sam, and he, you've said he made a series of dumb mistakes,
yes,
got involved with the gangs. How did that happen?
Growing up in a community that has its share of gang members, they're friends of his, they had an influence on him. There's a lure to running in the streets like that. They scared us. There were many sleepless nights whenever we heard gunshots, whenever we heard a siren. We feared that it was him or other children that we knew, that we've seen playing in the playground, playing in the alley behind a Catholic school. We know many of the children who were victims of that type of violence. So we struggled with it, but it also gave us a greater resolve to continue to look at ways to address violence by creating positive alternatives for youth. The good thing about my son is he did well. He outgrew it. He is a chef. He is a loving dad. He's raising 4 children, and I'm very proud of him. Of course, he made me lose hair. Got a few additional scars in me being a dad, but because I think his mother and I worked with him and never gave up on him, he's a better person for it today.
So if it happens, if Chuy and Evelyn Garcia's son takes that wrong turn, gets captured by the gang. I won't necessarily even say their name, but what about the parent who doesn't have the resources or the ability to tap into other assistance that you and Evelyn had?
It's much more difficult for them.
How do we break this cycle?
Through restorative justice, by involving kids in events like that, in settings like that, in opening up schools after school hours. That's the environment that can give children a place to hang out that's safe, a place to get counseling, a place to find good role models who have already committed mistakes, who are showing young people how to do differently. We participated in that. That's why we created the types of programs. Those
So
are
your
the
son
scars.
was in some of those programs.
Yes, and he turned out to be a mentor in some of those programs. Now, he had his rough spots, but I think in the end, he's come out good, and he's a better person for it. He's embarrassed. We were embarrassed, at the revelation, but it just shows that we stuck it out in a tough neighborhood because we knew we could make a difference, and it's really motivated us to do more about engaging in violence prevention type of programs.
All right. When we come back, we're going to be talking a bit more with mayoral candidate Chuy Garcia. And later, we'll also hear from the authors of a new book on Illinois' long and sordid history of government corruption. Stay tuned to Fox 32 Sunday.